All right, so Pastor Kendall and I thought it would be fun if we talked about some assumptions, some weaknesses, and some strengths found within the church, whether you are married like Pastor Kendall or single like myself.
Hi, I'm Pastor Kendall.
And I'm Pastor Mo, and we are Unpacking Truths,
where we unpack God's Word and God's truth for life today.
Everyone is seeking, and we're here to help you find hope and power in God's Word. So let's get started on that. What are some assumptions within the church you think about married and single people?
Great question. Mo, I think we have all sorts of different assumptions. I mean, I think one of them we were talking about just before this when we came in.
Yeah.
The idea that, when we come into the worshiping community, when we're showing up to something, we usually have a smile on our face. We're out in public. We're putting on our best face. So we all see each other with our best face on, at least at first glance. So you see a couple walking in going, they're smiling. You're going, wow, they are a perfectly married couple. They must have it all together. And so we assume that they have it all together, and then we sometimes look at ourselves and go, maybe I don't, but they do. So I think that's one of the assumptions.
That
they're a Christian couple, they'll probably have it all together. They never fight. They get along well. They raise perfect kids.
Jesus is at the center of every argument.
Yes.
They pray before they argue.
Yes.
Let's get really angry with each other. Too. Hold on. Let's hold hands and pray first.
Yeah.
I can see myself doing that. No, I can't.
So that might be one assumption, that everyone's perfectly, marriages are all in perfect shape.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about an assumption of single people that you think is out there?
Yeah, something's wrong with us. I can't, absolutely. I can't tell you how many people actually, it flows out of their mouth. Why are you single? What's wrong? What's going on that you're single? And it's like, well, I'm not sure anything's wrong at the moment. And lots are wrong, but I'm not sure it's the fact I'm single. And so there's this idea that, I don't know if it's just culturally or also within the church, I'm sure within the church as well, that to have a good life is to be married. The norm is to be married.
Which is interesting, Mo, because in our culture, the percent of the adult population that is single continues to rise. Yeah, I'm seeing that more and more. It's up to some. I wish I should have checked it before we came in. I didn't think of that. My head didn't go to that. But it is. I mean, if anything, the church has to figure out, what does it mean to be a church where...
Culture is shifting. And I did look up some stats because I was like, where did this come from? And so I saw that in the 1950s, the average age to marry was 20 for females and 23 for males. And then, and in 2020, it jumped to 28 for females and 31 for males. And so there's an age shift. There's a thing happening where even older generations within the church are like, what's wrong with them? They're 30 and not married, whereas that's kind of becoming the cultural norm too. So we're getting a lot of singles in the church.
Yes. So, when we were talking about assumptions for single, and I was thinking about that, I saw assumptions going in both ways.
Yeah.
That there are some people that I think see a single person and assume they are single and they want to be single for the rest of their lives. That they like that.
I've never gotten that one.
I think the other one though is they're just looking for a partner. And so that who can I set them up with?
If they're looking for a partner, why don't you hook us up? I'm thinking don't you have sons or cousins or brothers? That's one really weird thing is that
I just thought you said you were okay with being single though. Now you're saying you're asking for.
No, some people, if that's another assumption.
Is this Unpacking Truth's dating app? Is that what this just became?
That's another assumption. Is that I've actually had people also say maybe you've been given the gift of singleness. And I'm like, what is that? That's a gift?
Well,
I was
Paul talks
not
about
that
it.
that's not a gift.
Seriously,
Some
Paul
people
talks about it as a gift, though.
But when you want that in your heart, then wouldn't you be like, I am very content being single. I love this life. I feel called to it. But just because you are single doesn't mean you've been given some spiritual gift of singleness. that doesn't.
No, it makes sense. I'm just trying to figure out if you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, my partner.
Well, no, both. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with being single. You can find happiness in being single.
Okay.
You can find wholeness in being single. Yet if you still have a desire in your heart to be single, then like celibacy. If for those in the priesthood, I have friends at Catholic, and so if you've been called to celibacy, they feel it in their heart that like this is something I've been called to.
Sure.
It's in my heart. But if they haven't, then they wouldn't become Catholic, and they'd go on to become a different denomination and serve the Lord.
Become a Lutheran pastor.
Become a Lutheran.
Join us. We need a few more.
You can get married.
But I mean, Paul does talk about that in 1 Corinthians 7, where it was interesting as I read the whole chapter, because he talks about, if you want to, Paul's guidance on marriage and singleness, 1 Corinthians 7 is where you find it.
Yeah.
But for a lot of him, as you read it, he's given these sort of very specific directions.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was shaped by the fact that he really believed the end of time was coming.
Right.
He thought Jesus' return was imminent. And so he said, I think it's best for you to stay as you are.
Yeah.
Whether you're married, stay married. If you're single, stay single.
He didn't realize
there's a lot of other challenges coming. So just
he didn't know 1900 years would pass.
Yes, and so some of his guidance was shaped by that understanding of what was coming. So,
context.
But I do think it. So let's talk about singleness for a little bit, Mo, and then we can shift over to the marriage side.
Do you want to? You got another.
One of the other things that I think an assumption is from married folks is for single people is you have a level of freedom as a single person to sort of do what you choose to do. And I'm not going to the married ball and chain sort of thing, but you're an accountability with another partner. I am with my wife, with Connie. And so before I go do something, I really should be checking in with Connie and vice versa. Whereas I think sometimes
that you're out for everything. I wish I had a spouse just to be like, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to check with my husband. Don't know. And then I can be like, honey, I totally blamed you for saying no.
But here's where you can look at it from different sides. You look at it as an out, and married couples look at, well, you have the freedom to sort of choose to do.
An assumption is that because we're single, we have all the time in the world, which actually I want to counter that and say we probably have less time than married couples, because you end a meeting at 10 at night and you get to go home, and I'm sure the dog's been let out and there might be food made already and all that good stuff. I don't even get to get home. I have to stop at the Jewel because it's the only place open. I have to grab something that if I didn't have milk for in the morning or whatever I need, I go home. I have to take out the dog. There's all these things because you don't have anyone else there to help do those things.
Mo, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't think if married people think single people have it easier, they forget that as a married couple, ideally you're a team. And, and some people are, one person's taking out the garbage and one person's doing the laundry and you divide up some of those responsibilities, whereas a single person, you've got all of them.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I feel like we have less time and we still desire intimacy and relationships. And so it's also like scheduling, getting together with friends and having to coordinate with all their schedules. And so it feels so extra, like a lot of work, time-wise.
The only advantage, you don't have to check in with anyone. You can just initiate and do that. Yeah. And so, but I think you're right that there is more work. There are more tasks to do because it's one person versus two splitting up tasks.
But then you get that cool out because you could always blame your spouse. Like, wish I could, but my wife said we have something else going on.
So what you're saying is you need other good excuses to have that married people can use. Okay.
All those married people are so jealous.
So, but let's bring it back also within the church.
Yeah.
So what do you think, what do you see as other assumptions do you think married people have of single people within the church?
So like assumptions of single people. Time was definitely one.
Okay.
Something must be wrong with us. I think here's another assumption, that we don't want to be invited to things. Like, I think that married couples assume, well, she's single or he's single. Like, why would he want to come? It's a bunch of couples that are going to be there, or we have our kids there. So we just don't get invited. Like, honestly, I've actually been invited to something, and then when I no longer had a boyfriend, I was uninvited.
No way.
Like, no joke. I was uninvited. I was literally text, well, now that you're not dating that person, you probably won't be comfortable going to this with everyone since we're all couples. And I'm like, I just got uninvited. And that was someone in the church. And so I'm, it was another fellow sister in Christ. And so there must be this assumption that like, we don't want to be around like your kids or families which there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I love that. Like, I crave and desire being around people and even kids.
Well, as you say that, Mo, it's one of the things that so struck me with my daughter, who was living in Houston for a number of years. And part of her choice was to rent a room in a family because she wanted community around.
Yeah.
She wanted to be, she didn't want to have, she's a high extrovert and just loved having people around and wanted to be around community. So it makes sense. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
And, and the question, and I think it's a great reminder for us as couples here, if you're listening to this or watching this, single people actually like hanging around with couples too. Yeah. It's not just singles want to hang with singles. So let's make sure we're extending those invites and certainly not disinviting. And
I eat anything, just so you know. I'm not a picky eater. I'm super flexible.
So, why don't we shift over to married couples? Yeah. What do you think? What are some of the assumptions that you have about married couples, or what do you think that are out there, Mo?
Well, like I had mentioned earlier, definitely that like in the church, but everyone puts on, I mean, I wish they didn't put on the happy face, but often, right? Like,
actually, I like that people put on the happy face. Yeah, I mean, we got to have some places to be real, but I don't want everyone.
But I get it. Cause I've snapped off on my kids in the car and then I'm like smiling the minute, hey everybody, how you doing? Well, the minute you walk into church and then you're like grinding your teeth at your kids. I don't know. When it comes to married couples within the church, I think just that there seems to be ministries sometimes that feel like they're very centered and focused on sometimes couple things.
You mean like a couples ministry?
Yeah. Yeah, but yes, like we have a couples ministry, right? And here's the hard part in that is that I'm at an age where most of the people in the couples ministry are around my age, and so I genuinely want to get to know some of them a lot more. Yet I'm not a couple, right? So how does that work, and what is that? Well,
and my sense is the intention of a couples ministry is to create a safe and healthy place for couples to connect with each other, grow in their relationship.
Yeah.
I actually love the fact they brought you in to teach on the Enneagram as that relates to the couple relationship, because I think part of it was the idea of, I think there are things that we could do as a church that is just about, hey, people are gathering.
Yeah.
Single or couples. I think the couple's intention is to help nurture that relationship where couples sometimes get pulled in 100 directions. Here's a place to focus and be together. So one of the things, I didn't do it so much of assumptions, but I thought sort of strengths of being married in church and challenges that, to me, some of the strengths are you do have someone to go home and talk about faith questions with.
Yeah.
Or that a couple goes home and they heard you preach and said, I heard Pastor Mo say this. Did you hear her say that? Yeah. That you have that sort of sounding board, that those can be things. You can also have someone who helps hold you accountable in your faith practice. If you're sort of getting a little lazy, I don't know that I need to go to church. If you're married to someone who takes that seriously, come on, we're going. Okay. Yeah. That accountability within your home can be a gift and a strength.
Yeah.
So I think that there are a number of them, as well as just the practical. You've got a wingman or a wingwoman when you go to a social setting and you've got someone at your side, like, I don't know anyone here, but hopefully she does, or vice versa.
Yeah.
It also helps to widen your network.
Absolutely.
For a lot of couples, like, wife might know these people, guy might know these, and so they sort of extend their network in those ways.
Yeah. And I get it that, like, usually whatever stage you are in life, that's kind of what you gravitate towards, right? So if you have kids, you gravitate other people who have kids those kids' age. If you're a married couple, you kind of gravitate towards couples as well. So I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the big challenges that I think isn't recognized as much, and struggle how to talk about it within the church, is that oftentimes couples are in different places spiritually. And in their own faith journey, you'll hear plenty of people who say, like, well, I was only coming to church because my wife wanted me to come, more often that way than the other. And so there's often can be then a tension in the marriage around spiritual matters.
True.
It can be as far as how do we go to worship and how regularly? Do we get involved in ministry? If one spouse is like, I'll show up a couple times once a month, but I don't want to be involved in anything else. And the other spouse is really wanting to. There's a tension there.
Yeah.
As well as with people's financial giving or their serving. All of those can be places where when there isn't exact alignment, that the spiritual matters become a place of tension within the marriage, rather than as a binding. We were joking about like, we're going to sit down and pray before we fight. Yeah. More often, I sense that when people are in different places, that can be a real place of tension and a struggle.
Absolutely, absolutely. But and I could say that's like anything though. When you're in a relationship with someone, it could be politics, it could be, but definitely spiritually too. And I'm going to hit on something that I know probably no one really wants to hear. But there's this idea that I feel, and other single friends, especially those within the church, working within the church somehow, or attending, that it's just better to be married, period. Because, and I was told this even, before seminary, as I was entering seminary, that even professors would say, like, you should really find someone. It's probably going to be easier to get a job once you're married. You might have difficulty getting a job since you're not married, type of thing. And at that time, and I remember feeling like this sense of like, I maybe I should marry the person I'm with. Maybe I should, like, that I'm dating, and because you're safer if you're married, like as though you're not somehow like as though because I'm single, I'm going to be like on pursuit within the church for a partner. That's not how single people look at the church. Like, whoa, I'm like, who's here to date? Like, that's not, it's to be in community with people. They're my brothers and sisters in Christ, married and unmarried. And it's a gift to be in relationship with all of them. And we're called to be together and grow together. And so it kind of is hurtful at times, when it's like singleness is kind of perceived as, like you're somehow in pursuit of a partner, so much so that like anything goes, like anybody would be an opportunity to pursue. It's weird, but I've had other friends who are in the church say that they had that same sense, and that's why they thought they weren't invited to things, or people felt threatened in certain situations. Like, I'm not sure I want you partnering in this ministry with that person because they're single. Like, married couples have said that to each other in situations where they may have been called to be a team lead with somebody who was single, but they were married.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's, and this is where, to me, we have to operate out of the integrity of our own calling with Jesus and our own sense of what he is saying in our lives.
Yeah.
And so partnering with single or with married folks, I mean, I think there are certain things that we need to do, but I think it's not so much single or married as much as just, are we putting up healthy boundaries around things? But to me, the idea of someone that a single person can't partner with someone who's married in a ministry area, that's too bad.
Yeah.
That really is, because we're followers of Jesus together, and we got to figure out how to do this together.
Absolutely. And I think there's much to be learned. And I personally love being partnered with married couples or someone who is married with different things, because I get to learn so much about relationships, right? Like,
without having to be in one.
Having been married before, I know just how difficult it is to really, let your marriage look like your relationship with God. And it's incredibly hard and it's character refining, like nothing more so than parenting, absolutely, because there's a power dynamic there, right?
Yeah.
And so, I know just how hard that can be. So there definitely are challenges as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I acknowledge.
I mean, I think this is an important area, and I don't know if we've, in these 20 minutes, we've talked about all the important things, but I'm glad we just engage this topic, and maybe we have to talk with some others about it too, because I think it's important, because we need to treat each other as fully complete individuals.
Yes.
Whether we're single or whether we're married.
Yeah.
And open to the fact that some single people are looking for a relationship, and some single people are very comfortable in being single at this time and feeling complete in that way.
Yeah.
In that it's not like there's an incompleteness in that.
Yeah.
And not being threatening one way or the other.
Right.
How do we just see each other as people?
Absolutely. And what does it mean as the church to create spaces, right, that are really inviting for those who are singles as well? Not like, a lot of single ministries have kind of been viewed as this like dating space.
Yeah.
Rather than maybe like opportunities of going and doing outings together and just doing life together in community, in fun ways, and just sharing in our life season, right? What it means to be single and all the perks and challenges with that.
You bet. And the perks and challenges in being married and doing and following Jesus in that and being in the church. So, well, hopefully we stirred some thoughts inside of you and maybe even a little more awareness. And I just want to say to couples out there, part of what I heard Pastor Mo saying is, let's not overlook the single people around us.
Yeah.
And as married couples to go, how are we inviting them in and including them as a part of the community here, and so the churches don't become so couple-focused that singles feel on the out?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear, honestly, what your experience has been like if you are single and or married within the church, and some of those challenges, because this is something as leaders in the church that we really have to just keep wrestling with and get a deeper understanding of as we are experiencing more couples or people who have been married no longer, and what this dance looks like of married and singles together in the church. Next time on Unpacking Truths. That's why King David was a man after God's own heart, because he was always searching himself and getting real with himself and being honest and being like, this is where I've fallen short. I'm so sorry. Like, I need to correct me. Our job is never to fix other people, never to save other people. That's God's responsibility and their responsibility. Our job is to look like love and compassion and mercy and forgiveness and non-judgment and God's presence in the world. That's our responsibility. And so,
and I think it's also, if there are situations where we are in relationship with someone who really sees things differently and they keep coming at us about it, it's okay to just simply say, I don't think this is healthy. Or to simply say, hey, let's agree to disagree.
Can we say, I don't think you're healthy?
Well, no, that isn't. No, I don't think this is healthy.
I mean, this isn't healthy.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. If anything we said brought up any questions or ideas, let's keep the conversation going in the comments below, or email us at unpackingtruths@locchurch.com.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue helping people unpack God's truth for their lives.